Hello everybody. This is my first video series for you, and it will be for the game called Unconditional Surrender, World War II in Europe, designed by Vasta, and published by GMT Games. As you can see on the screen, I have all that up so that you can see it properly, along with the developer and the map art down here. I am Dren608 on Board Game Geek. If you want to look me up there, I have posted a few things over time. Closest thing to, quote, fame for me on Board Game Geek is the Me, Myself, and I series replay of the Victory Games title of Vietnam, 1965 to 1975. I am bringing that sort of three persona thing to Unconditional Surrender because it's a three-player game. So I will be doing a series of videos for this game using the main event scenario. I will be using the 2.3.1 version of the Vassal module. This is a short version of the video version of the solitaire saved game that I created and posted up on Board Game Geek. You'll notice that one of the things I did is I took all the miners, like here in Spain, and if you go over in the Balkans, you'll see all the miners are sitting stacked up in their respective countries. This keeps me from having to dig them out of the counters tray up here. I find that I spent more than half the time I was playing the game in the early years here just trying to dig out the miners that I was having to deal with or activating and whatnot. So hopefully that will save time, especially for a solitaire player. Some of the other things that I did is instead of using the map, I took everything that was in the turn track for this scenario on the map and put it in this pop-up turn track. That way, wherever you happen to be, you can pop up the turn track and kind of see what's coming down the pike and so on. Might change what you actually make a move. Again, as a solitaire player, I don't like scrolling around the map. It just seems wasteful of time when I can just pop something up and do whatever I need to do. Also, in the same kind of theme here, I use the faction card rather than the individual faction cards like this. Rather than having to open 3 faction cards and try and keep track of things, if I put it all here, especially as a solitaire player, I can pop this up. I can see, oh, look, the British have their surprise marker or whatever available, and I know to probably start playing to avoid, literally being taken by surprise. I also took the national tracks rather than opening again those individual buttons like this. This lets me track their willpower, the factories, and the factory count loss markers, and all of their production all on one card. So I know how much production I need to save, how much my opponent might be able to save. So as a solitaire player, this is just all really nice convenience things. Okay, I also have done something I do in every game I play, whether it's on Vassal or Hot Seat or Solo. In the upper right-hand corner, I open up these buttons called Attack Gyro Modifier, Defense Gyro Modifier, Movement Points, and the Sequence of Play. By having them all right there, it's easy to just, add 2 to the gyro, add -1, whatever. How many movement points do you have left? I tend to try to count down because that way it's easier to tell if you can actually attack something. And then the sequence of play is just so that I know what phase I'm in, because I might be called away because of family matters. I do know that a lot of the other videos all use the regular paper map and the counters. I would love to be doing the same thing. However, I'm limited on space, and my children brought home cats. So cats tend to not like board games sitting out, over weeks. The counters tend to magically change, and why is there a Russian in London? You never understand that. So I am going to use the Vassal module to do these videos. So let's get on to the rules. There are some extra rules here I'm going to be invoking. First off, all the errata that was published as of 12/14/2018. There's a couple of things. There's like one thing in the political phase. There's a couple of other clarifications and things like that, but basically all the errata is in place for this game because I've been playing with the errata now for a while. I will also be using the playtest rules that Sal wrote in that errata document. Those include the following. A second Russian infantry is moved to upgrade an infantry unit to a guards unit. This is kind of huge. It reduces the total number of Russian armies floating around on the map. They start off with something like 28. By the time they get all their infantry reinforcements from the conditional box and what they start with, they can have 28 infantry armies. By doing it this way, you cut it down to more like 17, 11 guards and 6 regular armies, which becomes much more manageable for the Russian player, and it also makes them have to focus on basically one front at a time. When they're spending their build points and things, they don't have enough to attack the entire front all at once. I also will be using the weather rules from that rule set. I'm going to summarize those here. Basically, in the months of April, June, and November, you cannot have the same weather as the month before. So if May is clear, June can't be clear. If May is mud, June can't be mud. That's an example. So it helps kind of break up the possibility of you rolling like a ridiculous number of ones and getting clear weather for like 7 or 8 turns. That just, I don't think that it's ever happened in Europe that they've had fair weather for that long. If the second point is if you get a clear weather in the June month of a year, you will add 1 to the October month of that year when you roll the die for that zone. You mark that by putting a sortie marker on the weather track, or you can put it up in the October turn. Just somehow you have to know that you're supposed to do something special in October of that year. That's only if you get a clear weather, or clear, fair, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's called fair, not clear. I'm mistaken. And then there are some combat modifiers. They change to in poor or severe weather, you are only allowed to do assaults. You can't do mobile attacks anymore. However, they do change the die roll modifier for the poor weather from -2 down to -1. So it's not quite as big a penalty because they're limiting the number of attacks you can do. I have not played with the combat modifiers. I was kind of playing several games with the original modifiers to kind of see how they all work. So this will be somewhat of an experiment for me as well. I also had not played with the second Russian infantry being removed for a guards unit. So, on to some notes about the setting this. We're basically at setting the stage here. In the diplomacy department in general, I am using from the playbook on page 26. There is a bullet about Italy. I will not allow Italy to become an allied country. I want to keep this semi-historical. By the same token, I will be playing a West First strategy. Again, most people are comfortable with seeing that sequence of events. Germany kills Poland, Germany goes after France, ends up in Russia, blah, blah, blah. I want this to be not only a series replay, but also somewhat instructional. So when I'm just hauling units across countries, just to get them to the other front, you're probably not going to hear a whole lot of comments. When I see something interesting or an interesting placement that I did, I will probably stop and kind of play, color commentator and say, now this is a really interesting move because you can do this, this, and this. Hopefully that will be instructive to newer players like myself, because I discover these things all the time. All you veteran players, you can just kind of ignore me and go, yeah, okay, what was the result of all this turn? Now, I do have one little house rule that I do use. It has to do with the whole setup thing. You're supposedly allowed to move your, units around within your main country, and Poland is allowed to set up any way it wants, and France can move a few things around, and Russia can move things around, and so on. When I'm playing another opponent, yeah, I'll kind of go with that. When I'm playing solitaire, I really don't want to argue with myself about what's the best setup for anything. So I just kind of play what the book wrote down is where everything is set up. That's where we start. We are literally starting at where Sal decided that history had all these armies actually placed. And we're going to start with that setup. I'm not going to alter the Polish setup. They're going to use their historical setup. It is wasteful on the Poles. I agree. There is a militia that could probably be put in a better place. But it keeps you from, playing around with German setup, and then the Poles react, and then you can end up in a long-term argument about what's the best way to do this for everybody. I think most of the setups all pretty much come down to pretty close to the same amount of odds on whether the Germans get through and capture Poland in the first turn or not. So I didn't see a reason to go down that road. So with all this said, this is going to be the end of my video here. Just thought I'd give you a quick scroll around the map so you can see where all the miners are. So, yes, there's a lot of miners that may never get activated. The other thing I do is, since Vichy France is a real possibility, I put those down here in North Africa. You probably saw those in the beginning of the video. They're just sitting here because if France falls, then you need to dig all these out of the counter box. And by having them down here, I can just pick up the stack and put it in its new minor country without too much trouble. Same thing with the policy evaluation marker. Rather than going digging it out, it's just sitting down here for you to grab and drop on the turn track, which, because you can do it this way, you can just pop up the turn track. Oops, wrong way. Move it up a little bit, grab the policy evaluation marker, and put it wherever it needs to be put. So, with that said, I will close down this video. Like I said, this is a little short video just to show you the saved game that I posted up on Board Game Geek, and to prep you for the first real video in the series, which is when I will be taking on Poland. So, thank you for watching, and hopefully this will get posted and I'll get some feedback on what I need to do better. Thank you and goodbye.